Hello and welcome to this recording of New Leads is the Lazy Answer. And in this video, we are going to be looking at ways that you can tap into the potential you've already got in your client base. Let's get started. So today, yes, we are talking about new leads are the lazy answer. And as I've just said a minute ago, this is a subject that I am very passionate about, get very excited about, because I believe there's a whole wealth of opportunity that as accountants and business owners as well, but as accountants and bookkeepers, we miss continually. And I'm going to talk to you about how that works, why that is, and then give you lots of ideas, lots of things that you can implement. As always, if you've got a question as we're going through, hit the Q&A button. It'll pop up on my screen up there, and I will gladly answer them as we go through. And again, as I always say, I like silly questions or stupid questions, because very often it's the stupid questions that give people the insight. And also you'll have other people in the background that are not brave enough to ask the question, and therefore they've not put it in the Q&A box, and they'll be internally grateful to you for popping that in there. The questions I've already got in the bank from the registration form are around imposter syndrome and whether I get that too. How do you share further services with clients in an informative but not salesy way? How do you structure bringing in paid consultancy for clients rather than as an add-on? How long do you wait before inviting a client back? How to attract larger clients? How do you stop mission creep? What are the top 5 cross sells and one new service? And then the last one that I've got in the system at the moment is, what if the client is left for something they felt you could have done better? So I will be answering all of those questions either during today's session, or if I haven't done that during the course of the content, then I will make sure that we cover those all off before we go. But please, as I say, feel free to pop questions in the Q&A box. And if you've got any comments or observations or anything that you would like to share, you pop it in the web chat as well. That would be great. So new leads are the lazy answer. And I've got 2 rules. The first one's not really a rule. It's just a thank you to you for turning up. I know we're all busy, and we're all starting the new tax year and rushing around doing tax returns and all the rest of it. Not maybe, but yeah, thank you for coming when you're so busy. And during the course of today's session, I'm going to ask you to do some exercises and do some thinking. And I might ask you to share it in the chat box, but there's no obligation to do that at all. So if you don't want to put anything in the chat box, then please don't. Just keep it to yourself. And today we are going to talk about turnover, or increasing turnover, increasing GRF, which forms part of the impact model that we've been talking about now for the last 18 months or so. So just as a reminder, impact stands for intention, so working out where it is that you want to go. M for mindset is around making sure that you're in the right headspace in order to get to where it is that you want to go. You then need to have the time, the productivity, in order to implement the things that you want to go. You need to have the team on board. You need to have the right customers. And then the T stands for turnover. And as I say, turnover is what we are looking at today. So how you can increase profitability. And impact, as it stands, is in a reasonably good order as far as I'm concerned with regards to implementation. But the majority of people go to turnover first because it puts money on the bottom line. And lots of people think all they need is a few more leads. And if you've got a few more leads, you'll be making a bit more money. And therefore, everything will be right with the world. But that's not, well, nearly always is not the case. The solution to most people's problems is not that they need more customers. Again, as you will see as I go through today. So today is not about posting more on social media. It's not about TikToks. It's not about Instagram posts or being part of Facebook groups or any of that sort of stuff. It's not about producing more content. It's not about putting videos on YouTube. It's not about email lists or anything like that. It's not about creating new leads, which lots of people feel is the sexy stuff. Yeah, it's the stuff that it feels good, it looks good, it feels like you got something completed, but in my world it's not the most efficient way of increasing your turnover. So we're going to look at how you can spot the GRF that you're currently missing, how you can make better use of the leads that you've already got in your world. You've already got a telephone, you've got leads on this thing that you are not exploiting, not maximizing to the best of your ability. So how you can make better use of the leads that you've got in your world, and how you can help existing clients take the next step with you. And as I say, Leander's question in a minute, is a brilliant setup to that. But before we start, I want you to think about how you are currently marketing, and I want you to score yourself. And the way you're going to score yourself is on a scale of 1 to 10. So you can score yourself 10 if you think you are brilliant at it, or let's say world class. You're in the top 5% of accountants in the country. So you can score yourself 10 for that. And you can score yourself 1. You can give yourself 1 point if you don't do anything with it at all. So this is it, and you don't need to share this. You can share it if you share it if you want to. 4, Leandro, but you've sort of opened the gate before the horse has got, or bolted the door before the rest. Let me give you the question. So the first question is around warm leads follow-ups. Yeah, so it's a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being world class, 1 being rubbish at it. And the question is, how consistently do you turn inquiries, past prospects, referrals, or I'll think about it, into an actual conversation? Yeah, so somebody's liked you on a LinkedIn post, or they've commented on a LinkedIn post, or they've sent you a message or something. So they've kind of they've downloaded a lead magnet, so they've kind of interacted with you in some way. How do you turn that into a sales conversation? Okay, how good are you at doing that? Again, score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being good, and keep it to yourself. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. The next question is your conversion clarity. So how clear and repeatable is your conversion process? So is it mapped out? So once they've said, yes, we're going to have a meeting with you, or yes, we want to work with you, or we're thinking of working with you, how clearly is your conversion process mapped out? 10 if it's world class, 1 if it's rubbish. So it's not about your proposal template, how clear, it's about the whole thing from one place to the other, from that initial contact, yes, I'm interested, to them saying, yes, I want to work with you. How good and how systemized is that? And then the last one of this part is around client growth. How often do your existing clients buy the next logical thing from you? So if they've got accounts, how often do they buy bookkeeping or payroll? Or if they've got bookkeeping, accounts, and payroll, how often do they buy budgeting or IHT advice or something like that? 10 if it's absolutely all the time, 1 if they hardly ever do it or never do it at all. So you've now got 3 numbers all marked out of 10. And then the last one is around content creation. And content creation is around how well do you create content and share on social media. So have you got a LinkedIn profile and you're posting on there once a week or once a month, or you got videos on YouTube, or you're part of a Facebook group and you're going in and answering people's questions when they've got problems? Have you got blogs? Have you got Substack and stuff like that? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good do you think you are at that? And give yourself a score out of 10. And what I'd like you to do is go through and add up the scores for 1 to 3. So you've got 3 scores out of 10. So you'll have a score less than 30, and then you'll have a content creation score out of 10. And I'd like you to think about those 2 scores and how close to each other, or where those 2 scores are. So are the scores for 1 to 3 higher than the content creation, which it can be for some people depending on how much marketing stuff they do, or is it lower than that? And then think about how much time and energy you spend on content against visibility versus the first 3 areas. So how much time are you spending generating emails and newsletters and things like that, compared to how much time you're focusing on generating warm leads, or dealing with warm leads, to conversion, to that client growth. And for the majority of accountants, when we go through that exercise, those 2 numbers, the scores to 1 to 3, are pretty similar to the score. The total score is pretty similar to the score for what they're doing for the content creation, because they're out there shouting about it. And my bugbear is that they're doing that, because you sold that. There was umpteen internet marketers out there telling you and selling you that marketing is the best way, because they're good marketers, so they're selling you that marketing is really good. And the second way, or the second reason why people go to that, is because it's safer for them. So they can put content out there, and if they build a new website and the website doesn't convert, it's the website designer's fault. Or if they follow a LinkedIn process and the LinkedIn doesn't convert, it's the LinkedIn trainer's fault. Yeah. So putting it out there becomes somebody else's fault. It's an external problem. Whereas if you focus on internally generating upsells or cross sells or your conversion process, and that doesn't improve, it's nearly always it's about you and the way that you're doing it and the confidence that you've got and the way that you behave and the conversation that you have. So it becomes a much more an internal thing. So it's far easier and sexier to go out and generate stuff than it is nurture and farm stuff internally. Now, I'm making generalizations there. That's not the same for everybody, but when you go out and you look, the vast majority of people are doing the first thing, they're going out and generating the leads rather than working on the way that they're converting them and then increasing and upselling what they're doing. So how can you spot the GRF that you're currently missing? And this is called the Ansoff matrix. I've been talking about it for donkey's years. It was created by Ansoff in 1963, I think it was. Might have been 1967. So it was in the 1960s. So Ansoff matrix looks a bit like this. Across the top, you have the services, and down the left-hand side, you have customers. You then have current services and new services. So that's the difference between services that you're currently providing and services that you might provide. And then down the left-hand side, you've got current customers and new customers. Now, what we need to do, or where we should be, is you should be looking at market present penetration. Yeah. So the work that you're doing, you've got current customers and you've got current services. And if you've got services that those current customers are not buying, hopefully those customers already know, like, and trust you. So they're the easiest place to sell new things to help them to buy new things. Yeah. So you've got people that know, like, and trust you. That's why they're working with you. And therefore, having a conversation with them about new services that they might buy is just the natural place to go. However, we don't do that. Lots of us don't do that, because if you have a conversation with a conversation with a current customer about a service that you could be providing to them, and they say no, it feels a bit, for some people, it feels a bit icky. It feels a bit like you've been rejected. But that's the number one place for you to go. That's the first place that you should be working on. And the whole of today's conversation is how you make sure that happens. Where most people go is in box 3, as it's going to turn out to be, is the sexy box, as I call it. So that's new customers for current services. So we're going on LinkedIn and we're talking about tax saving opportunities or accounts or whatever it is. Yeah. Improving cash flow forecasts or zero software, etc., etc. But that is not the first place to go, because, or even the second place to go, because you've got to go out there and you've got to convince them to like you before they'll buy from you. So the best second place to go is new services to current customers. So once you've maximized, you've penetrated your internal market, your internal customer market as much as possible, you then go out and look for new things that you can provide to your current customers, because they're much more likely to buy from you than it is to get new customers converted to buy the current services that you are buying. So types of things that are new services that accountants can provide: you might have an IFA arm, for example, or you might start providing professional indemnity insurance at a profit, or you might use something like capitalized or CFN. And there's a whole world of services out there that you could provide to your customers. There it goes again. I've lost all my screens then for a minute. The whole host of services that you could provide to your current customers. Only once you've maximized those two boxes should you then be going and looking at current services to new customers, because at that point you've got to convince somebody that doesn't know you that you're good. So you've got another hurdle to get over. And then the last box is new customers and new services, which is a stupid place to be, because you've got to not only convince somebody that you're good enough to work for, you've also got to convince them that you're providing a product that you're good enough to provide. Now, that's effectively when you start up in practice or start up in business, that's where you are. You're providing services that you've not provided before on your own to people that haven't worked with you before on your own. So that's the most difficult place. And normally people, when they go into that box, they compete on price, and then you end up with loads of customers that you're not charging enough money for, and the hole that we go down. So remember, it is always current services to current customers first. Yep. And the way you can do that is to increase the frequency. So increase how often they buy from you, or increase how much money they spend with you. So how much their average spend is per year. Now, increasing frequency from an accountancy perspective is quite difficult, because you've got annual accounts that you could turn into monthly or quarterly management accounts. That increases the frequency. You might have a cash flow forecast that you update quarterly rather than annually, or monthly rather than quarterly. So you can increase frequency, but it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to increase the number of tax planning conversations that they have, or you're not going to be able to increase the number of annual accounts that they have, for example. So increased frequency from an accountancy perspective is quite difficult. I mean, you're never going to convince them to change from a monthly payroll to a weekly payroll, for example, nor should you. So the easiest place for us to go as accountants is to increase how many things, the average order that they buy from us. And what you need to do, and again, when we go through this process with clients, it always amazes us and them how many opportunities there is in their client base that they're not currently exploring. So what you need to do is do something called a WOO chart, or windows of opportunity chart, or it's a golden goal, or a magic matrix. There's thousands of different ways of describing this, but let's call it a windows of opportunity chart. And this is how a WOO chart works. Across the top, across here, you put the services that you are providing, okay? And then down the left-hand side, you put the names of the customers. So customer A, B, C, D, and then we've got accounts, payroll, bookkeeping, cash flows, tax, insurance, etc., etc. So that's how your matrix works. One of the things that stops people from doing this is they go, I've got 600 customers and it's going to take me ages to do this. Okay, so don't do it for 600 customers. Do it for the top 20 customers, or the top 30, or the top 50 customers. Whatever you think is manageable from the number of customers you got, start there. Even if it's the top 5, just start there and have a look at it. Then what you do is you go through and block out the things that they're already using you for. So in this scenario, customer A is always having their accounts done with you. Customer B has already got everything with you that you can provide. Customer C, you don't do their accounts for some reason, but you do their bookkeeping, cash flow, and payroll. Customer D, you do their accounts and you provide tax insurance, but they don't do payroll, bookkeeping, and cash flows. So you see where we are. The white gaps are the opportunities. The red ones, or put crosses in them or whatever, they're the ones where you are already providing the services. You then go through and put in a figure. The perfect figure, the best figure, is the profitability of the service that you could provide. But if you can't get to that, then you can put the GRF in, or the turnover in. So customer A, if you did their payroll, you'd be charging them £200, 1,200 quid for the bookkeeping, £2,000 for the cash flow, £200 for for tax insurance. Customer C's 4,700 for the accounts and 200 for the insurance. And customer D, you get the idea. Yeah. So you put the GRF in that you could be charging them. And then the final step is to add those lines up. So customer A is potentially worth a further 3,600 to you. Customer B isn't worth anything. Customer C is 4,900. Customer D, 3,400. So if you was going to take somebody out to dinner, if you was going to wine and dine somebody and make sure that you was offering them the services that you could offer, my guess, all things being equal, my guess would be that you'd want to be spending the majority of your time on customer C, and then customer A, and then customer D. Yeah, so it gives you an idea as to who you should be focusing on in order to increase your turnover. Not only that, at the bottom of the matrix, you've got totals for your total service capacity. This one's skewed slightly because of the high figure for the account, which is only a quarter of your customer base, only a quarter of your potential. So if you was going to do marketing to your customers, your internal marketing system, you would probably want to start, all things being equal, advertising accounts to them. But given that that's only one customer in this scenario, you'd probably do that as a targeted piece of marketing. The second one is you'd be over here on cash flows. So you'd be marketing to the client base, A, to reassure B and C that they're doing the right thing, but secondly, to increase A and D's likelihood of using you for cash flow forecasting. Yeah, so your marketing activity, your internal marketing activity, focuses on cash flows, then bookkeeping, then payroll, and then tax assurance. So that very simple matrix where you've got customers down the left and services over the top, analyze, take care, who's having what already, value the ones that are not having it, gives you a wealth of information as to who and what you should be targeting internally. So just purely going through that exercise, it'll blow your mind as to the opportunity you've already got in your client base that I dare bet you as much money as you like, you are not exploring. So that's number one. Right. Let's have a look at what happens once you've got the leads. Yeah. So you've got something's happened. It could be a referral, or they might have seen you speak, or whatever it is. You've got the referral, and then the leads turn up into your office, and there's a whole load of things that I would like to share with you, loads of ideas. Invitation to return is a really big one, because we all have clients that leaves us, and I know when you talk to people, and we have the same conversation within the accountancy practice at Greenstones, when clients leave, they're not really the good clients that leave. They're always the ones that we was just about to sack anyway. But if you've had a customer leave that you didn't really want to leave, then you need to give them an invitation, or there's an opportunity to invite them to return. So if you're any good, then the person that they've gone to, the practice that they've gone to, hopefully is not as good as you, and they're too embarrassed. They could be too embarrassed to come back to you in order to use your services again. So you need to give them the opportunity. You need to make sure it's safe. So I've got two questions on here. Tim has asked, how long do you wait before inviting the client back? So that's on this invitation to return. That's come out the back of some marketing that I was doing for this. So how long do you wait? Well, the simple answer to that is straight away. Yeah. So when you do the disengagement letter, you send the disengagement letter to the client detailing all the stuff, and then at the bottom you say how wonderful it is to work with them, has been to work with them. If they ever need a second opinion, or they ever need a sounding board, please do not hesitate to reach out. So you're already on day one giving them an invitation, an opportunity to come back. Within Greenstones, we then have two more points, and then it rolls through. But the next major one is 3 months afterwards, so 90 days. So the client's left, they've experienced the new practices, onboarding procedures, and they've probably had some advice and all that sort of stuff. So they might not be completely happy. So definitely after 3 months. And then I say 12 months. So when they've been through the full cycle. Now that 12 months can change. It can move about because it depends on where the accounts are, where the year end is. And sometimes you'll find that, I mean, we do all of our accounts, well, I say all of them, we do the majority of our accounts within 3 months of the year end. So sometimes you'll find that the year end's passed and the new practice hasn't filed their accounts, and that gives you a perfect opportunity to ask somebody if they want to come. So from a timescale perspective, you do it straight away after about 90 days and then after about 12 months. And then Leanne's asked, what if a client left for something that they felt could have been done better? Same rule applies. So if it's not something you've cocked up, if it's something that they think you could have done better, and you know that you did the best that you could, then it's the same thing again. So it depends. So straight away on the disengagement letter, and then you're probably not going to pick them up straight away from that, but they'll know that they could come back, and then after 3 months. And then again after 12 months. But it depends a bit on what you think, how they've, obviously if they've left and they're angry when they're leaving, you probably need to leave it a little bit longer, but you still need to go back. If they're a client that you want, if they're an ideal client, a client that you enjoy working for, you still need to go back to them in order to offer them the return. So that's the invitation to return. And I'm going to share with you in a minute a quote from one of the members that started doing that off the back of me talking about that at one of the events that we run. If you do nothing else today, then just have a look down your old clients that have left over the last 3 years and just send out an email saying, hello, I was on a webinar today and the webinar made me think of you. How are you getting on? If you need a second opinion on anything, then please feel free to reach out and see what happens. And we've also, within our processing system, so from when the lead arrives to getting that appointment, we've also got some, in my opinion, some very big holes. And that's a very big hole. We've got thousands of them around here in Finland at the moment. The first one that I want to highlight here, and I've got lots that we're gonna share. Some are really easy to implement, others are a little bit more difficult. The first one is not answering the phone properly. So you'll be amazed when you ring up, people go, "Hello," and it's like, who is it? So we have a system at Greenstones. It's hello, Greenstones, Simon speaking. Yeah. So you have hello. So the brain goes, oh, they've answered. Greenstones confirms that they've rang the right number. Simon speaking. Because if I introduce myself, the person on the other end is more likely to introduce themselves. So, hello, Greenstone, Simon speaking. They'll say, hello, it's Peter here. Yeah, so I've already got their name, so that avoids this guessing. Yeah, so make sure that you answer the phone properly. The next one is not calling leads with telephone numbers back instantly. Yeah, so if a lead comes through on a website or on an email, you pick up the phone and start speaking to them straight away. Yeah, the longer you leave a lead, the colder it gets. In that moment when they've reached out, that they're at the peak of their buying anticipation. Yeah, so you need to be picking up the phone and speaking to them straight away, or worse, you give up too soon. And again, it's another one of these things I love. I'll go for years just dropping an email, dropping a WhatsApp, leaving a voicemail. Hello, how you getting on? Yeah, no, you're not ready yet, and just keep plugging away until they come across. And then the last one on this little thing is not accepting leads outside of working hours. And fundamentally, now that's a contact form on a website or an answer phone. So you make sure that you have a voicemail on that will accept leads, or if you have an office phone, making sure that you have the office phone working. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Not using WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. We're getting umpteen messages now through Facebook and WhatsApp because people are on the website or they're on Facebook and they see it and they just want to click a button and send a message when it's convenient to them rather than have to wait and ring up the following day in order to speak to you. And it is in this process, it is generally speaking about what is convenient for them. And you don't have to respond right away. You can just send a quick message back saying, hello, thank you very much for the message. I'll ring you tomorrow. Yeah, that's good enough. But not having that available means that you will be losing leads. Web pages that don't work, so they don't work on the mobile, it's got old data on it, old links, or old forms. And this is a big bugbear of mine. So if you do nothing else, again, off the back of today's webinar, you need to go to your website, you need to go to your contact form, look at what it looks like. Yeah. Is it anything like, is it attractive? Would it make you want to put your details in? Yeah. So question that to start with. And then most importantly, put your details in and see what happens. Yeah. Now, if you've got a practice that's big enough, it's got people looking after it and all the rest of it, put your details in and put a note in there saying something like, please let me know that you got this message. So when the team member that's responsible for looking at it looks at it, they let you know that they got the message. Yeah. If you haven't got that and it's just you need to put your details in, make sure that you actually get the email. What does the email look like that's received by the customer once they've put the contact details in? Again, you'll be amazed at how many times we talk to accountants, work with them, put the details in the website, and then they go and check and the contact us email has gone into their spam. So the team member that's responsible for checking the inquiries through the website has not even seen it. It's absolutely nuts. So at Greenstones, we have a little system where once a month, one of the customer care team go in, put the details in, they ring up and leave a message on the answer phone outside the office hours to make sure that it is all working. And then the other one is no plan for what to do when leads buy or die. So they've got no CRM system. So you end up with loads of pieces of paper on your desk with names on it or emails that are left unread. And there's no process. There's no continual view, if you like. Pipedrive is fantastic for this, or T cards, or even an Excel spreadsheet. So you can see where people are moving along your pipeline. And there's even more, you see. There's not asking people to buy, so we get all really embarrassed. Oh, this is what we do. And you don't say, so do you want to work with us? And then shut up. There's no attempt to reignite old leads. So just the same as you can go back to old customers and invite old customers to come back, you can go back to old leads that chose not to use you and invite them to come back. So there's a whole world of opportunity all the time without generating these new leads. And then not speaking to old customers to invite them back, which we've already talked about. So, lastly, then, of the content aspect of it, how can you help existing clients take the next step with you? So ask yourself, how many times as a client bought something from somebody else that you could have provided? I was in a Facebook group yesterday and somebody had posted in the Facebook group that they'd got a client and the first they knew about it, they'd appointed a business coach. And the first they knew about it was when the year end accounts came in, they went into zero and all of a sudden there was £2,000 a month invoice going out to the business coach, and the accountant had seen that, and they believed that they could have provided the help and support that that client want. And I know it happens and it's frustrating. And that's because we are not talking to our customers about what it is that we could do at the time that they need it. So that's an important. There needs to be a pain. There needs to be motivation for the customer to do it. So we need to continually talk to them, constantly talk to them about the things that we could provide that they're not currently taking from us. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a hard sell, as we're going to get to when I answer Helen's question in a bit. It's not need to be a hard sell. It just needs to be a conversation that's directed slightly in order to uncover any problems or pain that that client's got that you might be able to solve. And when we're not doing it, when we're not talking about the extra stuff that we can do, it tends to be because we're too busy. Because of our self-worth. Yeah. So it's because we don't believe that the client believes that we're good enough, and therefore we don't offer to do that work for them. It's about our imposter syndrome, was a word come up over there. It's about whether we believe that we're competent to it, whether our client likes us enough to do it. It's that feeling of being found out. Yeah. So we'll say we'll do it. The client says that we'll do it, and then we're not good enough for it, or the client doesn't feel that they got value, and then they reject us. So it tends to be the reason why we tend not to have those conversations is because we don't believe that we are good enough in order to deliver those services. Certainly the advisory services, the payroll and the bookkeeping, I'll accept that that's a routine thing, but we mask it as being too busy. So we'll say, oh, we're too busy to do it anyway, and therefore that we can't do it. And so the simplest way to sell more services to your current customers is to meet with them, preferably face to face, Zoom or telephone, but you know you're not going to do it via email. Very rarely you're going to do it via email or post, but to meet with them and talk to them about their problems and the pain they're experiencing. So Leander, how do you share further services with clients in an informative, not salesy way? Well, you don't have to share the services with them. You just have to ask better questions. So in the conversation or during the conversation with the client, when you're listening to them, they'll be dropping hints, yeah. Or you can lead the conversation by saying, "So, are you busy at the moment?" "Oh, yeah, really, really busy." What things are taking up lots of your time? What sort of admin things are taking up lots of your time? And they'll say, "Oh, wow, posting invoices on Zero takes ages." There's a sales opportunity there. Or running the payroll on a Friday afternoon takes for donkey's years. Sales opportunity there. Or writing out checks or paying supply. They'll talk to you. If you talk to them about admin stuff, yeah, stuff that's taking up their time, then all of a sudden it becomes, this is what we can provide. This is how much time it will save you. You're charging yourself out at £90 an hour. That's 300 quid saved. We'll only charge you 150 quid. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. So just ask questions about what their life is like and what they're experiencing. And off the back of that, it's like IHT. All the IHT sales becomes around if they've had somebody that's passed away, friend or a relative or a parent or something like that, then generally speaking, people go into, oh, what happens if I die, and blah, 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 and it just becomes an easy conversation. And what you need to remember is that most people just need a good listening to. Yeah, the majority of people don't feel as though they get listened to, and if you give people an opportunity to talk to you about themselves, about their lives, they'll be revealing so much about themselves, about the pains that they're experiencing, which will give you the opportunity to share the problems or the solutions that you've got to their problems and their pains. So that's the way to do it. It's nothing more complicated than that. Ask better questions, listen to their answers, and as soon as they give you an answer or a problem that you've got the solution to, then you'll be able to offer them and talk about value. So your next step, well, I've got some questions over here, but to give you your next step, if you do nothing else off the back of today's conversation, is to ask yourself, what's the one thing out of all of those things that I've just shared? What's the one thing that you can do right now, straight away, to increase your GRF? So, are you going to test your website form? Are you going to speak to an old client that left? Are you going to speak to an old lead that you've got in your telephone that chose not to appoint you? Are you going to have a conversation with a client about a service that they might choose to talk to? You're just going to ring somebody up and talk to them about what challenges they've got at the moment. There's thousands and one different things that you can do in order to increase your GRF without having to go out and post on social media in order to generate those leads. And then ask yourself, if nothing changes, where will you be in the next 12 months? If you carry on doing exactly what you're doing in the way that you're doing it, you're going to end up in exactly the same place as you are now. Or because the world has changed, you're going to be in a worse position. And I just want to share this one thing because I'm chuffed to bits with this one. Off the back of the mindset webinar that we did, I think it was back in February now, the end of February. One of the members of the community, a chap called Tony Bradshaw, sent me a message more or less straight after. You'll see yesterday, the following day. Yeah. After listening yesterday, I immediately contacted 2 clients to discuss and agree long overdue fees and carry on until we're spoken to each one of them as upgrade and a lift. And then you'll see this is the email exchange that's gone backwards and forwards between me and Tony. And there's more to this since then. Tony's added, what's that, 2.5, 3, 5, 4. 7,800 quid to his GRF purely by taking action off the back of the content that was in the mindset webinar, which is available. If you want it, you can go away a week or let me know and I'll send that to you. So in order for you to improve your practice, in order to increase your GRF, you have to do something different. Yeah. Otherwise you'll be in exactly the same place now as what you were then. Now, sometimes people get blind to what it is that they need to do, and they need to understand or have some clarity or help to have some clarity around what their biggest problem area is. Now, it might not be turnover. It might be something else. So your invitation today is to complete the In Practice assessment. Mark's going to pop the link in the chat box. All you need to do is just click that link. Go away. It takes 3.5 minutes in order to complete the Impact Your Practice assessment. You'll get a report that's individual to you, and it will point you in the right direction as to what it is that you need to be doing and where you should be focusing your time. And then once you've done that, you get a report and all the rest of it, and it will point you in the right direction. So that's it's disappeared off my screen. That's there it is again. So you just click that link, it will take you away, and you can fill it in, and away you go. Right, whilst you do that, I am going to answer these other questions. I'm going to stop this share so you can see me. The first question I had on the list was from Helen, and Helen said, do you get imposter syndrome too? So I'll go back to this self-worth conversation. Lots of us don't have conversations with current customers on the basis that they might reject us. They might not want us to, they might say no to us offering a service, or worse, they might take on the service and then 6 months down the line reject us because we don't want to do it. So do you get imposter syndrome? Do I get imposter syndrome? Well, the simple answer to that is wholeheartedly yes. Yeah. And the really simple answer is that everybody does. It's not unusual. Yeah. The only reason why imposter syndrome exists is because it was effectively created in order to be able to sell stuff to people. Yeah, it's to put a label on something. And I believe that something is fear. So imposter syndrome is a fear of getting found out. Yeah, it's a fear of you not being good enough, which is how it's described. But because of that fear of not being good enough, it then restricts you from doing things on the basis that if you do those things, you might get found out. Now, we had a whole conversation yesterday at the Evolution Mastermind meeting around how you manage your emotional state. But the big thing, the simplest way of describing it without going into all that content, is to ask yourself what you would do if you was being courageous. So if I was going to sit down with this client, or I'm going to sit down with this client tomorrow, they're doing accounts, they're not doing payroll and bookkeeping, I'm going to have a lovely conversation with them. And if I was being courageous, Yeah, I would have a conversation with them about how they might take the next step. That's where you need to go. So, yes, I suffer from imposter syndrome. It goes up and down depending on where I am, whether I've had alcohol in the last week, whether I'm exercising properly, whether I'm meditating, and all the other stuff that goes around it. But yes, I do have fear and imposter syndrome just the same as everybody else. How do you offer shares? Sorry, how do you offer share further services with clients in an informative way? I've just talked about that one. That's the ask the better questions. Claudia asked, how do you attract larger clients? I seem to get startup freelancers with a small budget. So there's a really, I'm going to say a simple answer to this. There's a great book called How to Marry a Millionaire. And the reason why it's great is because it's got a pretty book cover and all the rest of it. How to Marry a Millionaire, and in the middle of the book, the only words are "Go where the millionaires go," and that's the same for this. So if you're not attracting the clients that you want, I dare bet you've not defined your ideal client. You've got to come up with the attributes and the characteristics of the client that you want to attract. Once you've done that, you can work out where those ideal clients go. And then once you've done that, you can go there. And if you mix with your ideal clients, invariably, if you're any good, those clients will want to come across to you. If you're looking at maximizing ideal clients or a different type of client from your current client base, normally people refer people like them because they think I'm a client of that accountancy practice and therefore they want more people like me. If you don't want more people like them, you need to educate those people to refer people that are not like them because they'll all know different people in different places, whether it be the pub or the golf club or wherever it is. So if you've got I don't know, a bricklayer that's doing 50 grand a year and you really want dentists, that bricklayer has probably got a dentist that they might or might not talk to, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So you need to get clarity over who it is that you want to attract, go where they go, and then make sure that you educate your network, your clients included, as to who it is that you want them to refer to you. David's asked about mission creep. So mission creep and not spotting the start until it's done. So this is again, it's a common one. We are all professional people. We want to help our clients. Generally speaking, that's how we've grown our practice, by being helpful and by solving people's problems. So we all have it. The three things that I've got to improve the way that you, or to reduce the amount of scope creep that you have. I don't believe that you can ever eliminate it, but how you can reduce it. The first one is to have a rule. Yeah. So what is included within the service and what's not. So within Greenstones, we have a 15-minute rule. If we can answer a question in 15 minutes, then it's included within the service. If it's over 15 minutes, or we believe it's going to be over 15 minutes, then it's an EWOO, an extra work order. Yeah, and we'll communicate to the client before the work gets done. Yeah. Now, very often, when you have, well, about 50% of the times for us, when you have that conversation with the client, all of a sudden it's not as valuable to them as what they thought it was going to be. So it gets rid of those questions. Oh, I was thinking about buying a company car, or I was thinking about selling a plot of land, or I was thinking about buying a holiday home, or I was thinking about investing in blah, blah, blah. Yeah. As soon as they have to put a value on it and they have to start paying for it, very often it becomes a lot less important to them than what they thought it was when they made the thing. So have a rule. If it's going to be outside of that rule, then make sure that you have the conversation with the client. There will still be some that gets through, because you'll look at it and think, oh, it's only 15 minutes or it's only 20 minutes. It's not worth bothering with. But what you need to do is sort it as soon as you catch it. Yeah. So if you find yourself going, oh, this is taking a bit longer than what I thought it was going to, you've just caught it. So you need to sort it. Yeah. Now, what lots of people do is it takes them a bit longer than what they thought it was going to. And then they say to themselves, oh, well, it's only another 10 minutes. I might as well do it now. And then it's another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes and another 10 minutes. So you've got to sort it as soon as you catch it. Yeah. And then you give the client the opportunity to say, look, it's way more work than what I imagined before I started. This is the value if you want me to continue. If you don't want me to continue, then we will stop. And then the last one is acceptance. You have to accept that sometimes you will lose. And it still happens to us 20 years after we started working like this, it still happens to us. We still look at it and think, how on earth do we end up in this hole where we've done all that work, and we're not getting anywhere near the money that we should be getting? So that's that one. And then the last one from Michael. What are the top 5 cross sells and one new service? So the top cross sells, I'm going to assume that you're already doing their accounts, because that's what the majority of people are doing. And off the back of the accounts, the easiest two are bookkeeping and payroll. Because they are very naturally, they fit within the compliance area. So the upsell and cross sell, the first two, payroll and bookkeeping. The third one is IFA, financial services, because again, that's very close to what we are already doing. And you can have a relationship with an IFA that will pay you a pay away, or better still, if you've got enough customers, you start up a joint venture and you participate in the capital as well as the income. The fourth one is budgeting or cash flow forecasts. So kind of the same thing in my head. You can't have a projected cash flow forecast without a projected P&L, three-way forecast. So that's another one that fits really easy. Convincing people that they've got a requirement for that, if they don't have a cash flow problem and therefore can't pay you, is much more difficult. That's why I've got it in at 4. And then the last one that I've got on there is personal balance sheet, IHT, and valuations, which tend to come around when people are looking towards retirement, or they've had a death within a family or a close relation, and they're looking to understand their position and what happens with them. The new service that people are out there that are offering is obviously, it's around AI. And the really clever accountants and bookkeepers, if I can call them that, are talking to their clients about how they can improve their efficiencies within their practices using artificial intelligence or software and all the stuff that goes around that. They're helping their clients move and become more efficient. So they're my top 5: payroll, bookkeeping, IFA, budgeting and cash flow, balance sheet, IHT, and valuations. So they are all of those questions. If we go over there, Leander said, I have another company that works with accountants to help with wills, powers of attorneys. Can I share that in the chat? They get a kickback. I'll prefer if you didn't, Leander, without me knowing who they are, but feel free to send that over, and I'll have a look. I've got a solicitor that we tend to send things to, but yeah, if you send it over, Leander, we'll gladly have a look. So let me just check there's no other questions there. No. So my advice is, what's that one thing as a result of today's conversation? What's that one thing that you're going to take away, that one small thing that you're going to take away and implement as a result of this conversation? If you need a bit more direction, then of course, please go and fill in the Impact Your practice assessment. The scorecard is in, the URL is there, and have a look at the report and go from there. So that's it now. Thank you for coming along and for sharing and for all the questions that everybody put in. And I'm going to disappear and enjoy the sunshine. So bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Thank you for watching this recording of New Leads Are the Lazy Answer. If you've got value from the video, can you please hit like? If you want to be notified the next time that we upload a video that you will benefit from, hit the subscribe button. And as always, if you've got any comments or questions, please post them below and I will gladly answer them. On the screen right now, you should see 2 more videos that we recommend you watch to inspire, challenge and support you to run a better accountancy practice.